You have probably heard that a tariff makes another country pay. It is one of the most repeated ideas in all of economics, and it is almost completely backwards. So today, let us follow the money step by step and see who actually pays a tariff. Not the politics of it, not who is right or wrong, just the plain mechanics of where the dollars really go. Because once you can see how the money actually moves, you will never hear the word tariff the same way again. I spent more than 20 years in banking, watching how money really moves between businesses and people. And this is one of those topics where the gap between what people believe and what actually happens is enormous. By the end of this video, you will understand tariffs better than almost everyone arguing about them. Let us get into it. A quick note before we begin. I spent more than 20 years in banking, including about 10 years as a branch manager and district manager. But I am not your banker, your attorney, or your financial advisor. And nothing in this video is personal financial advice. This is education, plain and simple, about how the system works. And I want to be clear about something else too. This is not a political video. I am not here to tell you tariffs are good or bad, or to point a finger at anyone. I am only here to show you how the money actually moves, so you can decide what you think for yourself. Any stories come from real experience, with the details changed. With that said, let us follow the money. So let us start with the basics. What is a tariff, really? A tariff is simply a tax that a government places on goods coming into the country from somewhere else. That is it. When a product is made in another country and shipped in to be sold here, the government charges a fee for letting it cross the border. Say a company brings in a shipment of shoes made overseas. Before those shoes can be sold in stores, that tariff has to be paid. It is collected right at the border, the moment the goods arrive. So far, this sounds simple enough. But here is the question that everything depends on, the question almost nobody answers correctly. Who actually writes that check? Here is the answer that surprises people. The tariff is paid by the company that brings the goods into the country, and that company is almost always a domestic business, one based right here. Think about that for a second. When those overseas shoes arrive at the border, it is not the foreign factory that pays the tariff. It is the local company that ordered them, the importer, who pays it to our own government. So right away, the most common belief that the other country pays runs into a problem. The money does not come from overseas. It comes out of the pocket of a business in our own country, and it goes straight to our own government. The foreign seller has already been paid for the shoes. They are not the ones writing the tariff check. But the story does not end with the importer, because a business is not going to simply absorb that cost and smile. When that company pays more to bring the shoes in, it does what any business does. It builds that extra cost into the price. So the importer charges the store a little more, and the store charges you a little more, and by the time those shoes are on the shelf, the price tag has quietly gone up. That tariff, paid way back at the border, has traveled all the way down the line and landed in your cart. There is no line on your receipt that says tariff, but it is in there, baked into the price. So when we ask who really pays, the honest answer, most of the time, is you. So let us put the myth to rest, gently and clearly. The idea that the foreign country pays the tariff is simply not how the mechanics work. The foreign government never writes a check to ours. The foreign factory already got paid for its goods at the agreed price. The tariff is collected on this side of the border from a company on this side of the border, and the cost flows to shoppers on this side of the border. When you hear that another country is paying, what is really happening is that a tax is being collected here and mostly paid by people here. That is not an opinion. It is just the direction the money flows. And once you see that direction clearly, the slogan and the mechanics no longer match. Now let me be fair, because the real world has some nuance, and I want you to have the complete picture. It is not always 100% on the shopper. Sometimes a foreign seller, worried about losing your business, will lower their own price a little to soften the blow, which means they eat part of the cost. And sometimes the importer or the store decides to absorb some of it themselves to keep their prices competitive, accepting a smaller profit, so the cost can get split in different ways. But notice what never happens in any of these cases. The foreign government still never pays. The tariff is still collected here. The split is only ever between businesses and consumers on this side. That part does not change. Let me make this real with someone I knew. A man ran a small shop, the kind of place that imports much of what it sells. When new tariffs landed on the goods he brought in, his costs jumped, basically overnight. And he faced a hard choice. He could raise his prices and risk upsetting loyal customers, or he could keep prices the same and watch his already thin profit shrink toward nothing. In the end, he did a little of both. He raised some prices and absorbed some of the cost himself. His customers paid a bit more, he earned a bit less, and the foreign supplier, who had already been paid, felt none of it. That one little shop is the whole system in miniature. The cost landed here and got shared here. So, if tariffs mostly raise prices on our own people, why would any government use them? And this is where it is only fair to show the other side, because there are real reasons. The main one is protection. If foreign shoes suddenly cost more, then shoes made here at home look cheaper by comparison, which can help local factories and local jobs compete. A tariff can act like a shield around a home industry. The second reason is leverage. A tariff can be used as a bargaining chip, a way to pressure another country in a negotiation. So tariffs are a real tool with real goals behind them. Whether they are the right tool in any given case is a genuine debate with thoughtful people on both sides. So here is the honest trade-off, laid out plainly. On one side, a tariff can protect certain home industries and the jobs in them, and it can give a government leverage in a negotiation. On the other side, it usually does that by raising prices for everyone who buys the affected goods, which is most of us. So a tariff tends to help a specific group, the protected industry, while spreading a small cost across a very large group, the shoppers. Sometimes a country decides that trade is worth it. Sometimes it decides it is not. That is exactly the kind of judgment reasonable people argue about. My job here is not to settle that argument. It is just to make sure you know who is actually carrying the cost when it happens. So, what does all of this mean for you, standing in a store or scrolling through prices online? A few simple things. First, when you hear a tariff is being placed on another country, translate that into prices on these goods may rise for me. Second, the effect shows up most on things that are heavily imported. So those are the categories where you might notice it first. And third, and most importantly, you can now listen to any debate about tariffs and follow the real money instead of just the slogans. You do not need anyone to tell you who pays. You can see it for yourself. That is what understanding the mechanics gives you, the power to think clearly while everyone else argues. So let us bring it home. A tariff is a tax on goods coming into a country. It is paid first by a company here and mostly by shoppers here, while the foreign government never pays at all. It can protect home industries and serve as leverage, and it does that by raising prices on the people who buy the goods. That is the whole machine, start to finish, no politics required. The next time you hear that another country is paying, you will know exactly where to look to find out who really is. Understanding how the money moves is how you stop being told what to think and start being able to see. I will see you in the next video.